Right, welcome back, everybody. A very, very, very special treat in store for you today with my newfound friend. I am in my element because when I was a small boy, which was about 3 centuries ago, one of the first bird books I had was on the Lady Gouldian Finch, and I have owned these birds in the past. Not for very long, but I have owned them. But we're going to find out all about them today from Dave McDivitt, who is a world champion, all-round good guy. I've met him for the first time today, but he has the most incredible setup with some incredible Gouldians. So Dave, thank you very much indeed for, I was going to say the invitation, but I think, as I always do, I think I invited myself, mate, didn't I?
I think we bribed you to come.
Yeah. No cash has exchanged hands, but if you see me walking out with a Gouldian in my top pocket, you'll know. It's a wonderful setup that you've got here, Dave. We're going to go through for the next half an hour or so, and we're going to talk about your life in bird keeping, the involvement in the British Gouldian Finch Club. We're going to talk about these stunning birds, and there's other different varieties in here as well as Gouldians. So we'll have a look at them. I've been mesmerised, to be honest, filming them. So listen, thank you, mate. I promise I won't do all the talking today.
Thank you. No, I'd wish you would.
All right, I'll do most of the talking then. So listen, everyone, you know what to do. Grab yourself a cuppa, sit back and enjoy the show. So Dave, where did this... I mean, this is... I've got some footage of the room here, and we'll show some footage, and we'll have a little chat about the room and the configuration a little bit later on. But David, Gouldians weren't your first love? They are your love now. But you've been a birdman for as long as you can remember.
I've been a birdman really from teens. I got into birds from a friend looking after his pigeons, and then I progressed with fancy pigeons and Chinese owls. I bred them into my teens and become a champion breeder. I progressed judging on club shows, and then really progressing to like Doncaster championship shows and winning, shows like that really with them. Like everybody, I think we got married, and then the birds got a back step, and then I came back into birds. I think my wife introduced me with them, actually, a pair of budgies, and I just looked at her and said,
"What have you done?
You don't realise what you've actually done here." So she had these pair of budgies, and basically I knew in my heart that budgies weren't the line that I wanted to go down, but my son loved them. So I gave the budgies to my son, and I went, right, okay, you've opened a door here for me. So let's go out and get what I really, really wanted, which was the Gouldian Finch.
Yeah.
I spent years and years in the UK looking at Gouldian Finches, but I spent a lot of time going to Holland, Belgium, Spain, looking at World Champion shows. And I knew then that the UK didn't have what I wanted to bring back to the UK, really. So I made contact with a chap called Ivan Vera many, many, many years ago. And we brought birds back into the UK, where then me and my son partnered up, and we started breeding quality Gouldians to a standard that people hadn't really seen in the UK. We progressed on with them really, and started keeping birds that we wanted to keep, and breeding them the correct way, learning off people in Spain and getting advice, and basically just bringing it through that way, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that is immediately apparent to me, Dave, when I come into the room, is that these are a different standard than the Gouldians that I've seen before. They are showbirds, aren't they? They're a show standard, they're an exhibition standard, but they are a sort of international exhibition standard.
Yeah, I think you can actually see the difference when you put it to the normal UK standards of Gouldian Finch. We tried to put on a show at Stafford, which we did, and I think we had about 100 birds on that show. And I think people then looked at the difference within the birds, and it brought a really good interest in the type of bird that we've actually got today. The problem is that you've got to breed and know the breed and breed right. or you start losing shape, size, colour, and weakness. You start making the birds weak. So it's a lot that you've got to basically learn and start really, with the birds.
I think one of the things which appeals immediately when you see the Gouldian is, we talked off camera before, it's a bird which is almost, it's unbelievable in its sort of colour composition, isn't it? You've got the sort of purple chest, you've got the red heads, the black heads, you've got some of the various different mutations, which I'm not even going to pretend I know, so we'll defer to your extreme knowledge on that in a minute, mate. But the range, I guess, of variations. And we see just in the corner of the room here, you've got the sort of the guide of the various different things available. But in the room at the moment, we've got the sort of. Is it fair to say the sort of the classic Gouldian is a purple breasted with
black head.
Black head. Yeah.
Is your classics and your red head, purple breast classics. And then your white breasts, and then you've got your mutations off them, which is your blues, your silvers, your yellows, and then your pastels, and then you've got other mutations what people are working on in the UK, Satinette, Bruno, in different ways. So there's a whole element of different lines that you can go down. But I think the classic is for me, a beautiful bird, and it looks as though it's just a picture painted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely does. Well, wonderful. Thank you for that little introduction. So, everybody, we're going to have a little look around Dave's room now. And then, Dave, if we can, we'll get you to talk a little bit about the Birdroom, the planning, the cage configuration, and the flights and so on.
Yeah.
So, Dave, we're in your room, and it's, as with all bird rooms and proper birdmen, it's not a room that's just come about by chance, is it? It's been well thought through. It's got the essential. I have to say, Dave, it's the poshest birdroom sink I've ever seen. I'm going to get a picture of this, everybody. It's like a Belfast sink with a drainer and like a fantastic mixing tap on. So I will get a cutaway shot of that so you can see it. But the room itself, how big is the actual room?
The room's around about 18 foot by 12 foot, I think it is.
Yeah.
I would like bigger, to be honest with you. I think once you go for one size, you'd like a bigger size. I'd like probably 2 flights, but I don't know whether the wife will let me take this any bigger. I think the size of the room and what I've actually got in it is 40 cages on a flight. It takes me quite a bit to keep on top of what I've got. So.
And there's always that balance, mate, isn't there, between the size of the room and our ability to maintain it. And you mentioned before, so we've got an LED light in here. The lighting in here is incredible. The cages have got LED lighting in them as well. You've got double glazed door, big window, double glazed door. The place is fully insulated, top, bottom, sides, and everything else as well.
It is, and I think that's important and very important aspect to go with the Gouldian Finch, where we keep them on heat. If you invest in the U value of the building, then it will pay dividends in the future with your bills going out really with the heating and retaining.
Yeah, and you were saying before, Dave, from a heat perspective, I think whenever it comes to sort of Australian finches, we often think, oh God, can we keep them in? What environment do we keep them in? But you said that the temperature's kind of set around 19 degrees, is that?
Around about that, to be honest with you. If it's comfortable for me, it's comfortable for the birds.
Yeah.
So, I keep it around about 18, 19, yeah.
And one of the things, and you won't get this on camera, everybody, but as soon as I walked into the shed, I mean, the place is immaculate, but as soon as I walked into the shed, the first thing that struck me was the sort of the cleanliness, and you can smell the cleanliness, and that's really important for the Gouldians.
It is for the Gouldians and keeping on top of the health. The way I look at it really with any type of animal or bird is if you keep on top of the hygiene of it, you'll have less problems down the line. So everything gets bleached on a daily basis. I use all the bleach Milton. I use waters bleached every single day. and just basically keep on top of everything.
Yeah, and you were saying one of the interesting things, and I pick up whenever I come and see Birdmen, I always pick something up, and I've picked up loads today already. One of the things that you said, which was really pertinent, and it's stuck in my mind, is you work on the immune system of the bird rather than treating sort of disease and stuff like that. So you build the immune system up.
Try and work on the immune system. Good food. I think if you put good food in it, the immune system, the birds will be able to then compensate that and tattle whatever gets thrown at them. Once the immune system goes down, they become susceptible to anything, and then they'll start picking up problems. Yeah. So good food, good hygiene, you won't go far wrong. Yeah.
No, and so a couple of things we talk on. The diet at the moment is sort of, it's interesting because we talk about the breeding cycle, and we will have a look at some chicks, but you talk about sort of breeding in two halves almost in the room.
Yeah, I basically split the birds because I've got quite a lot of birds, because I've got different lines going, so I keep a lot of birds for each particular line when I'm actually breeding, and which colour line I'm actually going for as well. I can afford really to be breeding all year round. Not many people will do that because they haven't got the scale or the setup that I'm actually doing it on a professional level. I sell very few birds. I don't, because it's that important to my lines and what I'm doing with the actual birds. But I do help a lot of people, and people who have come into this club can even vouch for it. At like Stafford's show, I put a pair of birds out free to newcomers, to encourage them and to use the birds when I've actually got as well. Yeah.
And the club, you mentioned the club, the British Gouldian Finch Club, but people will find it on Facebook.
Facebook, yeah, we're all over Facebook with the club. It's a very good club. There's a good board committee, and really people there to help everybody to develop the Gouldian Finch in the UK and to take it forward. Yeah.
And one of the things that obviously I want from today is to showcase this beautiful bird and get as many people interested in it as possible. Onto the diet, Dave. We can see got the front hoppers here. With a seed mix which you've got sort of specially developed, haven't you?
Yeah, my seed I can actually get it mixed to it. I'm using a standard seed mix, but I've just taken down the Niger seed to it with the Gouldian Finch, and I can actually get that blended. Very good seed off Planet Avery, who's a sponsor of our club. His seed I found to be one of the best out there, to be honest with you, and it is really paying dividends in the birds, and the Wales show, online show that we actually put forward, and a few of our club members won first,
including this very modest man here. You had quite a good show there, didn't you, mate? Fair to say.
We did. It was very good. It's a new experience. It's the second one that we've actually done with the club, and I think it's possibly a good way forward for the Gouldian Finch to get it out there.
Yeah. And I think I know done online 5 clubs, the shows particularly during the COVID years, and I think it is a great way of sort of broadening the interest and appeal of the birds, and although we joked off camera before, they're taking absolute age to film and to get them looking good. So in terms of the room, Dave, you mentioned the number of cages, you mentioned the flight. We're towards the sort of the tail end of one of the rounds at the moment, aren't we? We can see in the flight cage that there is a number of young that are sort of starting to come through the molt. Some of the other older birds are sort of starting to come through the molt. And you said before off camera that one of the important things with the Gouldian is the age at which you breed them.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't personally breed a Gouldian, the hens, until they're at least over 12 months old. I think this is important to get the bird developed internally, just to get a bit of experience with that bird, really. So I'll leave it 12 to 18 months, really, on the hens. Cocks, on the other hand, 6 months I've got a cock, which is breeding, which I can develop the line pretty quicker. But no hens, you're going to have trouble if you go further than that.
And it is that sort of patient game, isn't it, with the Gouldians of sort of making sure that there is a sexual maturity to them. But I mean, they are they are, I guess, real characters, aren't they?
They are, and I think the hens are more attracted to people than the cockbirds. I find the hens basically come up to you and want to talk to you and come right up to the cage, and even if I'm in the flight, they'll basically come on me, yeah. So they are characters to really watch.
And there are other varieties of birds in here. So normally whenever there are Gouldians, you would see Bengalese.
You will to an element, yeah. One of the reasons why I brought the Bengalese in is because we did bring birds in which cost absolutely thousands to
unless the wife's watching, in which case they were only 50 quid.
Yeah. But you've got the travel and hotels and vet bills and bringing them into the country. So if I bring a line of birds in, I will not let them breed and rear their own. I will take some eggs off them, and then I will let them rear their own youngsters, which I've got a pair over there, which is a very expensive bird, and he's now rearing some of his own young now. Yeah.
And what fascinated me with the Bengalese is that you have them in colonies. So within a cage, you've got sort of 2 or 3. There's not just a pair in there. And you were saying before that they all feed, and I don't know if we might be able to get a shot of this as well. But the crop on these young Gouldians looks like it's about to burst. They've done an incredible job.
Yeah, I might not necessarily just have a pair of Bengalese together. I might use 3 or 4 Bengalese, in one actual nest, to look after them youngsters, and they will all take as a colony, looking after the chick and bringing it up. I might have 3 cocks in one cage, and I can still bring them in to breed with the Gouldians. I think it's observation, looking at them and moving the eggs at the right time to bring them into it.
And from a sort of an incubation period, how many days?
For the Gouldians, about 15, 16 days.
Right, okay.
And then we'll start seeing the chicks.
Yeah, and do they lay every day?
Yeah, every day you'll start seeing the eggs, and then I would either leave them with the parents and let them do the work, or if I have to actually move them, then I'll pull them. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a fascinating thing with the young chick Gouldians, isn't there? There's almost like an alien sort of fluorescent element to the beak.
Yeah, there's like the fluorescent dots in it, and we can actually sex the bit. Well, I'll go on to the sexing the birds when they're into the actual nest, but we can actually define the colours by them spots.
Really?
with them, so we can see, whether it's going to be a blue or whether it's going to be a normal, with them, dots within the beak, will define the colour of the bird. But one of the main things which a lot of people don't understand is once the bird is actually developing in the nest and it's starting to quill up, if you look at the actual tail on it and the development before it's even got any feathers, you can actually sex it, because you will see the fork coming in the tail.
Right.
And then that will be a cock. So we can actually even sex them in the nest. Yeah.
That is incredible. There's lots of knowledge here.
Yeah, because people have trouble even sexing them when they're coloured up, which is, once you get into it and the experience, you can actually see it, but you can actually sex them when they're in the nest.
And there is another variety of birds in here. Now, I tried unsuccessfully to film some of these in the flight. I think we're going to call these very quick birds. And for the life of me, I've given them about 3 names already. And Dave has told me, he's been very patient with me this morning, everybody. He's been very patient, and he's reminded me what they're called on 3 occasions. Hasn't stuck in my head. So what else have we got in the room, Dave?
They're painted finches.
Painted finches, that's it. I knew it was I might edit that bit out later and just pretend I knew they were painted finches all along. And you've got a really, really nice line of painted finches, and you've got a real good depth of red on them, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a really good depth of red running from the throat straight down to the stomach, which you don't generally see in the UK, really. And these were brought in from Holland, and I did get a couple in this country as well, and bring them, just try them, work with them, really. But they've always fascinated me, them ones as well, really.
Yeah. And so success with them as well. Wonderful. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do now, Dave. We'll have if we may, we'll have a little look at a couple of the young. And then after we've done that, we'll have a look, because I can see we've got some egg food mixed up there as well. So we'll go in the kitchen with Dave, and we'll talk about egg food recipes too.
Yeah.
Super stuff. So we're in Dave's kitchen now, and what sort of fascinates me about this is there's a real detailed understanding of the husbandry here, and there is a series of different minerals and grits that are given. So, Dave, do you want to? I noticed there's sort of mineral blocks on the cages, isn't there? Do you want to talk us through?
Yeah, I have the iodine blocks on the cages, but in the fingers I basically put either the black or pink minerals. I put grit in one, always keep them different, don't ever mix your grits in with foods or anything like that, keep them separate, and change them as and when. So I use a grit there, but I think the main thing is with anything is to keep it simple and don't overcomplex anything. Simplicity is generally better. As long as you're hitting the key points of nutrition, you'll not go really far wrong. For speed and everything with me, and I've used it over the years, is I use pearl morbide. I used to use soak seeds and that, but I find this and I'm getting the results with it. But it's getting it basically right. It's the right consistency. If you don't hit the right consistency, a lot of people talk about Gouldian Finches and they're not basically eating what they've actually got. So I'll just run you through basically a quick demonstration of how I actually mix it, which will be interesting, for people. So basically we've got the different containers with different foods in it, and basically I keep it simple. So 1 scoop of pearl morbide, in it goes. I use a variety of dried vegetables, from spinach to cabbage to seaweeds, carrots. One of those go into there. So you've got 1, and then 1 again, 1 of water, the same actual volume of it. So basically that then goes in, and that might take about maybe 15 minutes. But once that's actually done and you've run through it, I then mix it up, and then I take 1 scoop of my egg food, which I use a Versalager. I use that, and it's so important to get it right. If you use that consistency, it should move about. If it doesn't move about, the birds aren't going to eat it. So then basically what I do, I just put a little bit of probiotic there for the gut and the bacteria, and a healthy gut is a healthy bird, basically. And that's how I mix it up. Very simple, very easy, and that's enough to bring the birds into breeding, to get the right protein levels into them, and to, when I want to bring them birds in to start breeding. Yeah.
So, Dave, we've seen a nest under some Bengalese, and we have got, and I think it's important, and you said this before, that you've got parent-reared birds as well, which is important. You don't want to breed that instinct out of them. So you've got a pair of birds here, which have got a young bird in the nest. But what you mentioned was the sort of, and I guess we're all a little bit guilty of it, that we interfere a little bit too much, and that can scare the birds off.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, really, is not to disturb the birds. I like everything pristine and clean, but you've just got to refrain from going near these nests and disturbing them. The Gouldian is well capable of looking after and rearing its own chicks, but a lot of people have problems with them, throwing them out of the nests, and abandoning the chicks and different things, with them. But the Gouldian's quite capable of doing that by itself. You must not interfere that much with them. These are a pair basically that is an imported cock, very, very important one to my lines that I'm actually bringing in. Now, these were actually, fostered off to other birds, the eggs, and then I let them rear their own chicks then. So, they're doing the job themselves. So we can go over and just have a look at it. I only left one actually with them, but, they're quite capable of
Right, well, listen, everybody. It has been a whistle-stop tour of the Gouldian Finch. Dave, listen, thank you so much for your time, your hospitality today, and for sharing your knowledge, mate, and for letting a complete and utter stranger come into your room with a camera and ask you a load of really stupid questions.
It's absolutely been a pleasure.
Oh.
From two bird keepers, I think we have to learn from each other. And I think that's the way with the hobby, really. The more that we can share information on bird rooms and developing the birds, that's the progress that we're going to make.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said, very well said. Well, listen, everyone, if you have enjoyed the show, and to be honest, if you haven't, I don't know what else I can do for you. You know, we're seeing probably the prettiest bird on the planet here today. If you've enjoyed the show, hit a like, hit a subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Dave, listen, thanks a lot, mate. Great to meet you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Don't forget the British Gouldian Finch Club. You can find out more about this very special breed. Until next time, everyone, take care.
Thank you.